let's do it.
A plane plummets out of the sky.
I would watch it today, but
The
it's kind of
speedrunner
long, and I kind of want to get a few different
inexplicably
videos in
jumps
today.
to a higher platform.
What the? What the?
And an election recount is triggered. All because of the same invisible phenomenon
What?
that permeates the universe.
Wait, this is called The Universe is Hostile
On May
to
18th,
Computers.
2003, voters
Oh.
in Belgium went to the polls. In many regions, voting was done on a computer, something the Belgians had been experimenting with for over a decade. But the system had a backup. Each voter would insert a magnetic card into the machine and make their selection on screen. Their vote was saved both to the computer and the magnetic card, which they dropped into a box for redundancy. Late that night, as the votes were being tabulated, one of the election officials detected a problem with the results from Schaerbeek, a municipality in central Brussels. Maria Vindevogel, a little-known candidate with her own party, received more votes than was mathematically possible.
Oh, wow.
They knew this because of the way the preferential voting system works. So they took out the magnetic cards and started a recount. One by one, they fed each of them through the machines again.
Dude, that is so
After
annoying.
several hours, the recount was complete. The vote totals for every candidate were exactly the same as before, except for Maria Vindevogel.
Oh, fucking
In her
Maria.
case, the recounted number of votes was less than the original by
God damn it.
4,096.
Nice.
So
Nice, Maria.
what went wrong?
Nice.
How had her original tally been inflated by over 4,000 votes? Computer experts were brought in to run extensive tests on the software. They
Of course.
combed through the code but could
yes,
find
Fivehead.
no bugs. They got the computer that had made the initial erroneous tally and tested the hardware again and again, but they could not replicate the error.
What is
Everything
it
about the
supposed to say?
hardware seemed to be in perfect working order. And this left only one possible explanation, and it is seriously weird. The clue comes from the excess number of votes Vindevogel received, 4,096.
Mm-hmm.
Computers work using binary, strings of zeros and ones, each corresponding to a power of 2. So somewhere inside the computer tabulating all the votes was a string of bits representing the number of votes Maria received. It started the day all zeros, and then as each vote for her came in, it would increment by 1. Physically, this is done by turning on a transistor for 1 and turning it off for 0. What's remarkable about the number 4096 is that it is exactly a power of 2, 2 to the power of 12. That is the 13th bit. So for Maria Vindevogel to receive an extra 4,096 votes, only one thing needed to happen. The 13th bit had to flip from a 0 to a 1.
Ah.
But why would that happen? Computers work precisely because bits don't flip unless we want them to.
Someone went
Or
in the computer and
do
flipped
they?
it.
Looking into
Like,
the
we know
problem,
what he's talking about.
Belgian
No, we're
investigators found
Fivehead, man.
reports of
Come on
similar
now.
issues
We're
from
so
big
smart.
computer companies
Just say,
starting in the
yes.
1970s.
Ah,
In
yes.
1978, Intel reported some strange errors popping up in their 16 kilobit dynamic random access memory,
Oh, of course.
DRAM. Ones would spontaneously flip to zeros with no apparent cause. The problem turned out to be the ceramic packaging the chip was encased in.
Oh, wow.
With the demand for semiconductor packaging skyrocketing in the 1970s, a new manufacturing plant was constructed on the Green River in Colorado. Unfortunately, this site happened to be just downstream of an old uranium mill. Radioactive
What?
atoms made their way into the river and then into the ceramic packaging for Intel's
Wow.
microchips. Intel scientists investigating the problem found that even trace amounts of
indeed,
uranium and
indeed.
thorium in the ceramic were sufficient to cause problems. In their DRAM, memory was stored as the presence or absence of electrons in a semiconductor well. The alpha particles emitted by uranium and thorium were energetic and ionizing enough to create electron-hole pairs in the silicon.
That's
If an
crazy,
alpha
though.
particle struck in just the right place, it could create a large number of free charge carriers, causing electrons to accumulate in the well, flipping a 1 to a 0.
Yeah, man.
This is known as a single event upset,
He is
a
intelligent.
type of soft error.
I mean, we're
The
intelligent.
error is soft because the device hasn't been damaged.
And I'm
The
surprised
bit
how
has
intelligent he
changed,
is
but
compared to
you could
us.
erase it and rewrite it with no problems. Investigators exposed the chips to alpha emitters with different levels of activity, And just as you'd expect, they found the number of bit flips directly correlated with the number of alpha particles the chip had been exposed to. The reason
that's
this
crazy,
problem
though.
was identified in the 1970s was because chip components had been miniaturized to the point where a single alpha particle could produce enough charge to flip a bit. Immediately, these findings attracted a lot of attention.
So uranium.
Before
man.
the paper was published, it was widely circulated in the industry. And as a
sorry.
result, chip manufacturers
Didn't
were a
know
lot
you were
more
over
careful
there.
to avoid radioactive materials when producing their microchips and packaging. Therefore, the bit flip that gave Maria
know-
Vindevogel
is your
4,096
nozzle okay?
extra votes wasn't caused by
Your snow
natural
shirt?
radioactivity in the computer. So where did it come from? After Henri Becquerel discovered radioactivity with uranium
Dude, you know what
in
this is gonna be? This
1896,
is literally just all gonna come to like, oh yeah, but this is all bullshit, and she just totally cheated to try to get more votes.
scientists sought a way to measure it.
This freshman
How
year of middle
radioactive
school,
were
fun
different
fact,
materials?
I'm made of alpha
And
particles.
one way to do
Oh,
this
wow,
is with a gold
really?
leaf electrometer. When it's charged,
It's 'cause
the
you're just
leaf
the alpha
is
male, that's
repelled, and you can measure the amount of charge by the angle of the leaf. Now, if
Wow.
ionizing radiation enters the chamber, it rips electrons off air molecules, creating positive and negative charges. Opposite charges are attracted to the leaf, discharging it over time. The higher the level of ionizing radiation, the faster the device discharges. In 1910, Theodore Wolff took his electrometer to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Since radioactivity was found in the soil and rocks of Earth, he expected that 300 meters up, the radiation would be just a few % of the ground radiation.
So it's a
Instead,
radiation
he found only a
detector.
slight
detection.
decrease. In
Wait, that's
1911,
crazy. It's
Austrian
all in the air,
physicist
man.
Victor Hess decided to take this experiment further. Literally. He loaded electroscopes into the basket of a hydrogen balloon. In his first 2 flights, he observed the same thing as Wolf. Up to an altitude of 1,100 meters, both trips revealed no fundamental change in
Damn.
radiation compared to the values observed on the ground. But the next year, he conducted 7 balloon flights, up to an altitude of 5,200 meters.
Oh,
And here, he discovered something
that's
remarkable.
like 15,000 more
While
feet.
there was an initial drop in radiation for the first several hundred meters, above 1 kilometer or so, the level increased with increasing altitude. At his maximum height, the level
Wait.
of radiation was several times greater than it was on the ground. The radiation
Oh my
appeared to
God.
be coming not from the Earth,
But from
but
space.
from the sky.
Damn, dude. What are we talking about? This bitch cheated, so let's go to 1910 to figure out how.
Hess scheduled one of his balloon flights during a
Wait,
solar
I get it, though.
eclipse, and as the moon passed in front of the sun, he carefully watched his instruments. But the readings were unaffected. Even with the sun half covered, the level of radiation was the same. Since no influence of the eclipse on the penetrating radiation was
It's
noted,
space, man.
we conclude that even if a part of the radiation should be of cosmic origin, it hardly emanates from the sun. Victor Hess had discovered cosmic rays, high-energy radiation from space. But what were these rays exactly, and where were they coming from? Well, today we know they aren't electromagnetic rays
It's
as
God,
many
he's tired
suspected,
of our
but
shit.
particles. Around 90%
I
are protons,
see.
9%
Space.
are
It's
helium
space,
nuclei, and 1% are heavier nuclei.
Oh, of course, nuclei.
Some of them
We all know
are
what that is,
from the
right?
sun, but they have comparatively low energy. High-energy cosmic rays, moving very close to the speed of light, come from exploding stars, supernovae, in our own galaxy and in others.
Damn, that looks cool.
And the
Shiny
highest energy
lights.
particles are thought to come from black holes, including the supermassive black holes at the centers of galaxies. But it's hard to pin down exactly where cosmic rays come from because, as charged particles, they're deflected by magnetic fields in space. So they can wind their way through the universe for billions of years. A cosmic ray detected on October 15th, 1991, had an energy of 51 joules. That is a single subatomic particle with the energy of a baseball going 100 kilometers per hour. For obvious reasons, it was dubbed the OMG
Damn.
particle. But primary cosmic rays like these don't make it down to Earth's surface. Instead, they collide with air molecules around 25 kilometers above the ground
wait,
and create...
let me get this straight. So there's these. So basically, this all started when we saw a change in our computer with the binary code or whatever, right? And we found out that that was due to uranium radiation in the water that got onto the packaging of the Intel processors that made it basically do things that it wasn't supposed to because it's radiation, right? So now they're like, okay, there's radiation. Where is it coming from? They're figuring out it's coming from space, and now we're learning that like what is creating these things that are like, shooting into our atmosphere that's giving us radiation. Damn, dude, I'm pretty spot on. You okay? You haven't blinked yet. I'm good, bro.
Create new particles.
I'm
like
good.
Ions. These collide and decay into other particles like neutrons.
I'm just having a staring
protons,
contest. I'm gonna win this
muons,
shit.
Electrons, positrons, and photons, which in turn collide with other air molecules in one long cascade. So from a single primary cosmic ray comes a shower of particles streaming towards the Earth.
Ah.
It is one of these particles that investigators suspect struck a transistor in a computer in Belgium, flipping the 13th bit from a 0
That's
to a 1,
crazy.
and giving Maria Vindevogel 4,096 extra votes.
What?
But how often do things like this happen? In 1911, Charles
So
Wilson
there's these
made
things shooting from space that basically when it hits the atmosphere goes like and then goes everywhere and just like by like the lowest of chances smacks into one little piece of machinery, creating 4,000 volts. That is the biggest bullshit excuse I've ever heard for cheating in an election. Come on now, man. Cheating and the government says space. Yeah, right? No. What happens is they're like, okay, you were cheating. Now what's your excuse? What's your alibi? Well, we didn't do anything. All right, look into it. They come back a week later. Sir, space.
it possible to see the cosmic rays all around us when he perfected
I
his
get it.
cloud
They
chamber,
had space help them.
an
That's
enclosure
what
with
happened.
supersaturated water or alcohol vapor. When a cosmic ray passes through the chamber, it ionizes the gas, causing vapor to condense
I'm
into
staring
tiny
contest
droplets
going
on the
against
ions,
the fucking chat,
revealing the
man.
path of the particle.
I'm gonna win. You guys aren't gonna
Alpha
win.
particles, helium nuclei.
Cheating.
leave
The answer
short,
is simple.
thick tracks,
First, let's
while
travel to
beta particles,
1910.
Electrons leave long, skinny trails. In 1932, Carl Anderson identified a trail that looked like
Damn,
it
that
was made
hairline.
by an electron, but in the applied magnetic field, it curved in the wrong direction, implying it had a positive charge.
Just the hair on the
had
lens.
found the anti-electron, or positron.
Ah.
It was the first confirmed sighting of antimatter. 4 years later, also using a cloud chamber, he discovered the muon, again in cosmic rays. For his discovery of the positron, Anderson was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1936.
Damn.
He shared the prize with Victor Hess, the man who discovered cosmic rays in the first place, invisible particles that affect our lives in ways most of us are oblivious to.
So basically, space is like
This
fuck
is
you.
possibly the rarest thing to
Oh my
ever
God.
happen in a video game. In 2013, user Dota Teabag was speedrunning
Old-ass
Super Mario
Twitch.
64 on the console. In the level Tick-Tock Clock, he suddenly upwarps onto a higher platform.
Wait, I think I've seen this
What
before.
the-
Did you get invisible walls?
What?
Please say you got invisible.
No, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Well, I need to see it again. That was so fast.
Clock, he suddenly upwarps onto a higher
What?
platform.
What the?
Wait, so are you saying that this guy is glitching the game was caused by space going like and creating a random particle that hit his computer out of nowhere? You're telling me that the universe just helped this guy speedrun Mario 64? No shot. It all comes full circle as an excuse for a guy splicing a speed run. Yep. Wasn't even about Maria. Screw her, man. Fucking Maria.
What?
Please say you got invisible.
No, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen, though.
The move shaves off a few seconds, and it seems like a newly discovered glitch in the game that could give
Oh, another
speedrunners an
cheater.
edge. User PanandCook12 put out a $1,000 bounty for anyone who could replicate the upwarp. But so far, after 6 years,
No
no one
shot.
has been able to. The
Yo,
best
Force and
explanation
CD,
anyone
Maria,
can come up with
and
is that a
Dota
cosmic ray
Teabag.
caused the glitch.
The
It's been
only
shown
thing.
that a single bit flip in the first byte of Mario's height coordinate could have caused the effect. On the main level, the byte was 11000101, but if you flip the last 1 to a 0, it changes his vertical position. And just by chance, this new height coincides with the higher
That sounds
floor.
like such bullshit, but
Hannon
also
Cook
like
12 wrote a script
true,
to
it could be
manually
true.
flip the bit at the right moment.
Wait,
and was able
really?
to achieve the same upwarp.
that's
This is a
crazy.
particularly visible bit flip.
Wait,
but
that's
the truth
crazy
is,
though.
Cosmic rays are triggering bit flips all the time.
An upset there, transient there, can alter the
Wait,
function of the
So they even tested the theory and was like, yeah, so right here, if this thing did happen and there was an actual bit flip, then this is what it looks like. It looks exactly like it. Well, that's crazy though.
these devices, and we call that a single event functional interrupt. So an entire process can hang. So a blue screen of death that you get might actually have been a neutron or whatnot.
When people see the blue
What?
screen of death, could that be caused by a cosmic ray?
Absolutely.
These days, there are a
Wait,
number
actually though, that has happened like twice since I got this computer. It just randomly blue screens. Am I a cosmic ray?
of ways computer chips are made resilient in the face of bit flips, like error correction code or ECC memory. But you can't totally prevent bit flips from happening.
No, I just
In
got scammed. Oh, okay.
1996, IBM estimated that for each 256 megabytes of RAM, one bit flip occurs per month. And the main culprit seems to be neutrons created in the shower of particles from cosmic rays. Starting
That's
in
crazy.
2009, Toyota recalled millions of vehicles due to the problem of unintended acceleration.
We were in the fast lane driving at about 70, and he said that the car was continuing to accelerate and he
What?
couldn't bring it to a stop.
Many speculated that cosmic ray-induced
Monkas.
bit flips in the electronic control system were the cause.
Oh, hell
So much
nah.
so that NASA was
Yo,
called
fuck
in
you,
to help with the
Toyota.
investigation. But it turns out cosmic rays were probably not the culprit.
Oh, then why are we bringing
NASA
this up?
identified as the main causes sticky accelerator pedals, poorly fitted floor mats, and
Okay.
most commonly, drivers pushing on the accelerator thinking it was the brake.
Yo, so we got yo, so we got this whole cosmic ray, like bit switch, all this. This guy brings up Toyota's entire recall of all their cars. He's like, well, it actually wasn't. It was faulty manufacturing and user error. So that's actually what happened. Yeah, that's it. That's just wanted to bring it up. Fuck you, Toyota. Like, just has this vendetta against Toyota. When you talking about we out of a speeding ticket, let's go back to 1910 for a second.
But cosmic rays have caused crashes of supercomputers, especially at higher elevations. Los Alamos National Labs, located 2,200 meters above sea level,
Damn.
is constantly dealing with neutron-induced supercomputer crashes. So the software autosaves frequently, and neutron detectors have been installed throughout the facility.
Well, that's crazy.
If you
though.
go even higher, like climbing up to cruising altitude in a plane, you can see the radiation from cosmic rays increasing on a Geiger counter.
To 0.5 microsieverts per hour at 18,000 feet, up to 1 microsievert per hour
Jesus.
at 23,000 feet, over 2 microsieverts per hour at 33,000 feet, and over 3 microsieverts per hour at even higher altitudes and towards the poles.
At cruising altitude,
Dude,
this increases
you're
the
dying.
chance of a single event upset by 10 to 30 times.
Oh, that's great.
This isn't
Thank you for telling me that the event of a catastrophic event, like a fatal plane crash, just got multiplied by 10 to 30%. I appreciate you telling me that. Oh, we are dying.
critical if it happens
We
in your
are.
laptop,
We're all
but
dying.
what if it occurs in the flight computer?
Yeah, what happens?
On October 7th, 2008, an Airbus A330 took off from Singapore to Perth. Just over 3 hours into the flight, the plane suddenly pitched down, diving 200 meters
Oh, that's
in 20
great.
seconds.
That's great.
Inside the plane, everyone experienced negative 0.8 Gs of acceleration.
Jesus.
It would have felt like the plane had flipped over.
The G-force was enough, even with our three-point harness, to lift us both out of the seat and push us forward as well.
Minutes later, the plane dropped another 120 meters.
Oh, fuck that.
119 people on board were injured.
Imagine the bit
many
flipping and your
from
airplane
bumping
just
their
starts
heads into
sinking.
the
That's
ceiling.
literally what's happening.
So the pilots decided to make an emergency landing in Learmonth. In the investigation that followed, the fault seemed to occur with the first Air Data Inertial Reference Unit, or ADIRU for short. This computer supplies critical data like airspeed, angle of attack, and altitude. The way it supplies each of these pieces of information is in a 32-bit binary word. The first 8 bits identify the type of information, and bits 11 to 29 encode the actual data. What seems to have happened is that a bit flip in the first 8 bits meant altitude information was mislabeled as angle of attack information. Inside the cockpit, alarms went on for overspeed and stall simultaneously, something that should be impossible. But the plane nosed down sharply to correct what it thought was a stall,
fuck that,
throwing
man.
passengers and crew into the ceiling. Investigators looked into software bugs, software corruption, a hardware fail, physical environment factors, and electromagnetic interference. But each of these possibilities was found to be unlikely based on multiple sources of evidence. The other potential triggering event was a single event effect resulting from a high-energy atmospheric particle striking one of the integrated circuits within the CPU module. One of the challenges with single event upsets is that they are soft errors. They don't leave a trace. But interestingly, the Airbus A330 was built in 1992, when there were no specific regulatory or aircraft manufacturer requirements for airborne systems to be resilient to single event effects. With the space shuttle, redundancy was built in
to the
from
hospital,
the start.
they all smashed
For
their heads on the
navigation and
overhead
control, there were 4
compartment.
computers
Yeah, but they might be okay, though.
simultaneously running identical software. If one computer had a soft error, the other
that's
3
so
would
cool.
overrule it. And using this setup, they could also track the frequency of bit flips. On one 5-day mission, STS-48, there were 161 separate bit flips. Above the atmosphere, cosmic rays are so energetic, sometimes you can even see them.
Once in a while, you have your eyes closed and you're not asleep yet. And if you wait a little while, you occasionally will see a flash of light. And we think it is heavy particles or individual bursts of energy coming from radiation.
Wait, that's
that are
actually
either
crazy.
Going through the eyeball itself or going through the optic nerve. And the way that your body registers radiation going through it is amazingly enough by showing you a little flash in one of your eyes, just to remind you that you are subject to the radiation of not only our sun, but every star of the universe that is radiating at you.
Yeah.
I picture back to the first astronauts who must have closed their eyes and seen that radiation and going, I'm not going to tell anybody about this because no one's told me about it. I'm not talking. And I can just imagine the first 2 guys that said, hey, sometimes I see flashes of light. Do you see flashes of light? And then it's, oh, we all see flashes of light. Oh, okay. Well, that's all right then.
That's great.
For missions to other planets, protecting electronics is critical.
If a single bit of information controls a critical function on your spacecraft, let's say your thrusters, and that goes from a 1 to a 0, from a on to off, or vice versa,
Oh, you're dead.
you could lose the mission.
That's why the computer on the
I like how they put
Perseverance
it, lose
rover
the
that
mission
just
or you're
landed on
fucking
Mars is 20 years old. It's a PowerPC launched in 2001 with only 256 megabytes of RAM
Wait,
and 2
what?
gigabytes of flash storage.
Oh, that thing's trash.
But it is radiation hardened, meaning the design, materials, circuits, and software are built to withstand 40 times the
built
radiation of an ordinary computer. It's been used on over a
Damn.
dozen space missions going back to 2005.
Oh,
In
curiosity.
fact, when we first started doing the PowerPC testing years ago, the way we did it, we just simply stuck an operating system processor in a beamline where we generate these particles on the planet and look for blue screens of death. You can kind of figure out what's going wrong and try to undo that so you don't get to the blue screen of death, because a spacecraft that gets into that mode is basically unrecoverable.
As the Voyager 1 spacecraft departed the solar system, one of the ways we could tell was by an increase in the flux of cosmic rays it experienced. Although on Earth the particles streaming from the sun and the solar wind are a source of radiation, further out, these same particles maintain a protective bubble, the heliosphere. It helps deflect and slow cosmic rays from interstellar space,
Oh, wow.
protecting the solar system from ionizing radiation. But the sun has an 11-year activity cycle, so this protection fluctuates. The flux of cosmic rays on Earth is much lower when the sun is active than when it's dormant.
That's crazy, though.
In the history of our planet, cosmic rays may have played an even larger role, flipping bits not in electronics, but in the genetic codes of living organisms.
Yo, no shots.
Providing some of the variation on which natural selection acts. Maria Vindevogel is now a member of the Belgian Chamber of Representatives, elected by people, not a particle. But her story is a reminder of the zillions of particles finding their way through the universe for millions or billions of years, one of which might, at any moment, change your life
Fucking
by
Maria.
passing through a tiny transistor and crack.
Okay, that was kind of scary. Why'd you do that? That was really scary, though.
Discovering the origin of cosmic rays, or where 4,096 extra votes came from, or how to protect the Mars rover from radiation requires problem solving, which is a perishable skill. And the best way to keep your problem solving skills sharp is to solve a diverse range of problems, which you can do with the sponsor of this video, Brilliant. Brilliant is a website and app that teaches you STEM concepts in an interactive way. They have courses on topics from applied computer science to special relativity. 2 courses I would recommend if you enjoyed this video are computer memory and algorithm fundamentals.
Look, I think
Brilliant
that's sick,
really
dude.
upped their
But
interactivity recently.
I'm too
so instead
stupid
of reading about algorithms, you're
to
taught
actually
how to
understand.
write algorithms yourself. Brilliant engages you in active learning. Instead of telling you the right answer, they allow you to figure it out for yourself, with plenty of helpful hints
That's cool,
and
though.
guidance along the way. And for viewers of this channel, Brilliant is offering 20% off an annual subscription to the first 200 people to sign up. Just go to brilliant.org/Veritasium.
sign up.
I'll put that link down in the description. So I want to thank Brilliant
Brilliant.org
for supporting Veritasium,
Veritasium.
and I want to thank you for watching.
Good video. Wow. I thought it said meth. Meth has a fatal flaw. I don't think so.